Cabrámonos, vatos y vatas. Check this thing out. This is how you make a fluid evacuator at your house. Take one of these Pittsburgh air-operated vacuum pumps from Harbor Fart for about 20 bucks. It's for AC in the car, but it comes with a Schrader valve for hooking to your AC parts. Can't remember what was on there, if it was a boy or a girl, but you take it off and it breaks down to 8th pipe. So air comes in here. Get that out of there. And there's a venturi in here. It dumps out the bottom, which is over there. And at the same time, that action pulls air this way and evacuates this here pressure vessel, which happens to be an old oxygen cylinder that I inherited somewhere. So I needed to make a new one to replace my Mighty Vac that imploded several times, using it out in the sun, hot oil, too much pressure. I'm not really sure. I run my compressors at 185. The thing said it was rated for 90, so I'm guessing it was probably my fault, but I had a couple of them over the years and they all failed. So I decided I was just going to make my own, and that was the only venturi that I could find that would work. So this is how the thing works. You put air in here, you open this valve, which doesn't really matter. You didn't even have to put a valve there. And I got a valve on the bottom. Kind of like a septic truck. I left it open because the tank's empty. You wouldn't want to do that if it was full. But let's see if you can see how this thing here works. You stick air pressure on there and it gets real loud because it's exhausting out. But that straw on the bottom that I got coupled to that will now draw fluid out. Now, once you start sucking out the engine oil of a small engine, provided it's hot, if it's cold it's going to take forever. If the engine oil's hot, it'll only take maybe 30 seconds to a minute or so for 20 fluid ounces. If you got a bigger, tractor engine or something like that, a quart and a half, whatever, it'd probably take maybe 2 minutes. This is still way better than draining the oil from the drain plug and making a big old mess, because most of the time it dumps right onto the frame of the tractor or whatever tool this engine is powering. It just makes a big old mess. This is a great shop tool to have just tucked in the corner for when you need it. So, hook up air, gets loud, hold the handle, and you go and stick her in some oil. Oh, I'll be goddamn. Look at that. Now this is cold oil. Now here's a little trick. Notice how the inside of the tube got all dark and you can't really tell what's going on. It tends to whip a little bit when it starts taking air because all the oil is out of it. But here's a trick that I use in the shop or in the field to clear the tube to see if I'm still getting oil or if it's just sucking air. Basically, I want to know if I'm done. Take the tube and stick it in the gas tank. Our gas tank today is some rubbing it out alcohol, and when it sucks that up, it'll clear it. So the tube is now clear, and you can see when you stick it back into the crankcase of the engine if you're pulling any oil still, or if it's pulling nothing at all. And if it's pulling nothing at all, then you know you're done. So, little tip, try that. The way that I built this thing was I had an old oxygen cylinder, and it just so happens to be plumbed, looks like half pipe. I'm not sure if that's half or 3/4 just by looking at it, but it looks like half. So reduced it down to 1/8 pipe to make that happen. And then on the bottom there, this is the dangerous part, I had to cut a hole in it with an acetylene torch and then weld a bung on there, which looks like half pipe as well. Could be 3/4, but I think it's half pipe. Welded it all around and then put a valve on there. If you want to build one of these yourself, make sure you're using a cylinder that does not have anything flammable in it. I assume no responsibility for any idiocracy. But this is a cool tool to have, especially if you're going to do small engine repair. If you're a homeowner just doing do-it-yourself stuff, it's not a huge deal. It's still a cool tool to have, but it doesn't have enough suction to move a whole lot of fluid. Now, I build bigger tanks for other stuff, different applications, and I'll put a port up here for sucking the oil out, so all the oil comes in and then drops down. And the reason I do that is not because the vacuum has to lift the weight of all that fluid up. It will. It's got no problem doing that. The reason I do that is because if anything fails, let's say my hose breaks or I go to the bathroom or forget all about it, something happens and this thing fails, the hose fails, the vacuum's lost for whatever reason. If I'm drawing it in up here, I'm only going to lose the contents of the hose. Whereas if I'm drawing it in down there, I'm going to lose the contents of the tank and have a big old mess. So again, not that big of a deal on a small little thing like this. Probably only holds a couple gallons. But, you know, you're talking bigger tanks. Yeah, even still, if I was going to build this again and if I had the drive to modify this and make this thing better, like if I used it all the time, I'd probably put a hole up here and suck it into there and then just use the bottom as a drain, but I probably never will. So thanks a lot for watching. Share it if you can. Leave any comments with any questions and I'll be happy to answer them.